Namaste everyone, I'm Parth, and welcome to another edition of
Hinduism, Now You Know. Today we'll be discussing what you can do to combat mistakes about Hinduism education right here in the US. So let's get started. As most of us know, US education is not very friendly to Hinduism. Despite the fact that mainstream American culture continues to call traditions like yoga, Ayurveda, and meditation from the broad Hindu spiritual tradition, we still see outdated and unrepresentative tropes about Hinduism being passed off as sanctioned, approved knowledge. For instance, this textbook discusses the theory of Aryan migration as an update on the earlier Aryan invasion theory, without pointing out that both of these theories have been severely criticized by archaeological evidence. Or consider this example from Discovering Our Past: Ancient Civilizations, used in the 6th grade in California. Here, dharma, karma, and reincarnation are defined narrowly in terms of caste. The goal of reincarnation, apparently, is to be born into a higher caste, at which point one is closer to obtaining moksha. The book even says, quote, "A dedicated Hindu believes that the people in a higher caste are superior and that they are supposed to be on top. Guess I'm not dedicated enough." There are already several community organizations fighting legal battles in court to help improve the situation. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't each do our own part. How can you help? This video will go through a few different ways. First, and most importantly, inform yourself. Learn what the common misperceptions are. It's impossible to turn our back on how other people view our tradition, no matter how wrong we think their interpretation may be. In order to effectively respond to these mistakes, it's important to understand what the mistake is and why it was made. Passion and anger is a useful tool only if it's accompanied by an understanding of how someone would defend the textbooks and why. Once you do this, the ugly source of the error will become clear. In our tradition, this method of response is called Purva Paksha. There are plenty of resources to help you through a basic Purva Paksha of some key items in public school textbooks, posted at the end of the video and in the description. Now that you have all that information, what are you going to do with it? The next thing to do is interact. Our community has a tendency to stick together, which is great, but it's also really important to get out there and represent yourself to the society we live in. It's the only way to affect real change. There are several ways of doing this. Many of you may have seen this petition circulating on the internet, directed at the California State Board of Education just a few weeks ago. Although evidence on the effectiveness of petitions is mixed, they are always a great way of involving more Hindu Americans to the effort to improve representation of our religion in schools. But they're not enough. Most end up failing no matter how many signatures they get. They often indicate a community that cares enough to click a button, but not much more. A more valuable constituency is publicly vocal, even if small. To that end, protests are an excellent way to show that we are publicly vocal and engaged. However, at the last community protest I attended, over Reza Aslan's Believer episode on the Aghoris, many Hindu American protesters did not go beyond shouting slogans. Younger people from Hindu Students' Council distributed pamphlets and talked to passers-by about our purpose there. It's only by engaging that other people will understand our grievances. Finally, respectfully talking to your student's teacher about how they teach Hinduism in the classroom can also be effective. Most educators are genuinely interested in making sure their content is accurate, sensitive, and relevant. After the CNN controversy, several educators reached out to my organization, from Illinois to New Hampshire. When you interact, it's important to consider how to frame the issue. Think about who your audience is and how to convince them. For instance, groups who oppose the Hindu agenda on textbook changes characterize our efforts to accurately portray Hinduism as whitewashing the modern-day discrimination that takes place on the basis of caste. But that's not what's going on here. Rather than accept this concocted confrontational narrative, one should argue that our efforts are to correctly identify the incompatibility of caste, a discriminatory social structure, with Hinduism, an accepting and egalitarian spiritual tradition. This is something that the California textbooks play fast and loose with by arguing that the caste hierarchy itself is built into Hindu theology, which is not true. The last tip from me is to create and use alternatives. Think about it. So much education today happens outside the classroom. YouTube videos, social media, and the internet have become equally, if not more important sources of information for a younger demographic. Hence, using these media to spread our own narrative about our religion is so important. We no longer have to rely on others to speak for us. In fact, this is a great way of involving the younger generation in content production, since my generation thinks all things social media are great. Why do you think I decided to make this short video anyway? One excellent resource that has already been created is the Himalayan Academy's The History of Hindu India. This textbook is available as an ebook or PDF online, and is also accompanied by a high-quality video series that is friendly for educating our youngsters. Once again, links at the end of the video. It's really important that Mandirs do address the topics discussed in this video to the youth programs at their Mandirs. Accessing accurate knowledge about Hinduism and understanding our traditions is one of the biggest challenges facing Hindu youth today. If your Mandir program neither addresses these types of issues, nor prepares your children to represent and be able to answer questions about Dharma, please make it a point to incorporate this into your Mandir's Balvihar or youth curriculum. That's a wrap from me. Please let us know how you like this video and be sure to visit us on www.hindustudentscouncil.org to explore how you can get involved in helping out the Hindu youth in colleges and universities throughout the country. Thanks so much for watching. Dhanyavad. Namaste.